this episode of Railroads Online, we're going to talk about Caboose. Caboose? No, I think it's Cabooses. Yes, Cabooses and Porters today. It's your starter equipment, so let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so let me get you introduced to your starter engine. This is the H.K Porter Company's 040. O meaning there are no front tracks here, no wheels up front, no wheels on the back, 4 in the middle. This company, according to AmericanRails.com, started as a machine shop in Pittsburgh. They got an order for a small engine and took off ever since then. So something about, I believe they produced 8,000 engines in their career, mostly focusing on private rail. Come over here. You're going to throw some firewood into your furnace. We're going to plug it in. 5 pieces should put you at 99%. If you look up in the top left corner of your screen, 99% full. We'll go ahead and close that. You can hold left click and drag to open and close that as it states on the top. And we're going to watch our boiler pressure here for the moment. Alternatively, you can go in here and press the letter F currently in game. Down here, the boiler pressure is 0 because the water temperature is not high enough. So once the fire temperature heats up, the water temperature will start to increase. We have plenty of water. The water level is 500. We can also see that here on our water gauge that it is full of water at the moment. So we are good to go. You can hear the steam starting to build up. Check our regulator. This is basically our gas pedal in a way, you would say. You got something here called cylinder cocks. I'll go over that in a minute. Your reverser, you want to keep that probably in neutral when you're first starting up. And your brake is on 100%. So I'm clicking and dragging to open up all these. So we've got no valves that we can operate at the moment. We're just building up steam pressure. So while that's continuing on, you can hear the steam coming up. If you want to test out, you can try your whistle up here. Give it a pull. And we don't hear anything at the moment because there's not enough steam. Get your bell. Give it a shake, and it'll go for a few minutes here. 30 seconds or so. This is your coupler. You're going to run a left click to put your link pin in there. Your link and pin, I guess you could say. There's your link, and here's your pin. So you would pin it in to connect up your engines. Around the front here, we have no lights. We have nothing else. We are just here to move cars around the yard with. Stats I'll put up here in just a second, and you'll be able to see exactly what capabilities this should do. Right now, it's sort of just the starter engine to get you going and move stuff around. The original design was for contractors to move logs around the yard and the lumber companies, sugar plantations, things like that. So it's really just a light duty engine to get things put where you want them. Okay, here we go. Our boiler pressure has just hit 120. You hear the steam sound change a little bit. Our fire temperature is still increasing. Our water level has not declined at all, and our water temperature is now 110 degrees. So we are maxed out. And now we've got a whistle. So you can make your sounds go. Now this here is going to be for maintenance. I don't know if they're going to include it in the game. But if the engine's been sitting a while, you've got something called cylinder cocks, and they're 2 little valves that sit under your cylinders here. And what they'll do is blow out. They use the air pressure, the steam pressure, to blow out of your engine. I'm going to put it in reverse here. In this case, I'm just going to put it 100% for now. I'll explain that in a minute. We're going to take the brake off and put it in reverse, about 7%. And that'll get us a nice little coast. You'll see the cylinder cocks blowing out the steam now. And what that's going to do, so a cylinder's usually meant for compression. Steam fills up the one side of the cylinder, and if there's water in there, it it's going to blow the head off the cylinder. There's a guy that explains it really well on YouTube. I will also put his link in there. He's a model railroader. I found his description very helpful. So here we go. I put it in. I started the engine. We are now at 0 reg. We have no more pressure on the steam because we are on a level track. We are just cruising along with no load on here. At 0 brake, mostly like we're in neutral. Even if I put it in neutral, it wouldn't matter because we have no regulator going. Full forward's not going to make a difference. We are just kind of coasting along because I've got nothing to push the cylinders. Now, if I put this in full reverse, we crank it up to 100% regulator, we are going to start moving. We can turn our cylinder cocks off. And we're going to put on our regulator back at the 0 here for a second. And turn our regulator off. And you can hear we're just coasting along almost at full speed. So if you were to throw this into full forward and hit the regulator, you're going to get something called slippage. So you can hear the engine's really pressing hard. You would have probably blown your cylinders up at this point and caused a lot of damage. But we're going to go forward now. Same function. The regulator in 0. It makes no difference. Now you can see that our speed was quite a bit fast. Now this reverser lever here is going to allow us to control our max speed. Put our brakes on. Put it in reverse. So for example, you saw the full speed at 100%. Let's put it in reverse at about 10% this time. Take our brakes off, and we're going to go full regulator again. And that reverser now controls the, you could call it maybe thrust, the amount of pressure going into the cylinders. So we're not just jerking the train along at full speed and snapping cars off. We're still going to get that speed up, but it takes a lot longer for it to build up that pressure. So if you're in a shunting yard, you're going to want to maybe do 3% or 5%, depending on the angles of the cars and how fast you're trying to get in there. But you can see we're still getting to that speed. It's just taking 10% as long instead of 100%. 10 times as long, I guess you could say. And full reverser. See, we may have a little bit more power, but we are still under control. Let me drop this down to about 3% reg, and it won't make any difference because we are already at speed. Same thing again here. Let's put it down, put the brakes on, and let's check this out one more time. If I do this at 1% forward, in here we go full regulator, and we are just crawling along. So something like this, if you're trying to back into a train, maybe 1% is going to be a nice easy start to stretch your train out. Stretching your trains out when you get all your couplers, the cars are pressed up on each other, and that's a good thing. So it's a good way to get started, especially on a long engine. Very little reverser in your setup. Excellent. Let's check our stats here. We're going to go back into F. We've still got full boiler pressure. We've lost 10% of our fuel, 20% of our fuel. In this particular engine, the Porter only gets up to 50. I was incorrect about stating that earlier. Our water level is now dropping. So let's take a look at our gauge. Let's see how that looks. So there's our 400. 500 is full. 400 is here. However, water is tricky in this engine. It tends to eat up a lot of water really quickly. So if we look here, you can see our gauge is down without having to look at the numbers. If you want to look at the percentage, water temperature is good. Water level is now 400 out of 500. If we look in our boiler, though, we are nearly drained out. This is the bottom of the boiler. You can barely see any of the water in here. Before it was full. When you start off, the water level's about right in here in center. In here, you can add in a water tower. So as you're coming along your line, you find out this is where you always run out of water. You have a hard time placing it. There's a wooden log, and that's going to want to place right up next to your rails on the side here. So you'd really ideally want it to be to the side. Now we're on a gravel patch here. You can't see because it's wintertime. I'm going to take a constant stone wall, and I like to just kind of stretch it out this way. I learned this trick from watching some of the other players, so thank you whoever came up with that idea. And we're going to put this water tower now up on this side. You can see the end of the logs now, and we're going to put it right about there's pretty good. I like it, and that gives us enough room for our hose to come on. So let's go ahead and fill it up real quick. We're going to put it in not full. We're only going to go about let's go about 3%. Take our brake off, and we can just creep along. Doesn't matter how much regulator you put into it. We can do a little more gas this way. No more air pressure gas, I should say. Brakes on right about here should do it. Let's go a little more. It's a short engine. Perfect. Okay, so right here's the top of your door hatch. We're going to open this up. We're going to grab our water tower and bring it down to the fountain, to the reservoir. And here you will see by placing it in that wooden position, we are right on our water when it's level about there. And now every engine has a different height on it, but we're getting it all in there. And you can see this level coming up as it's filling up. It's not fast because we are now filling up our boiler first. We can look at our increase here, and now we are back to 500. As that fills up to 500, this continues to fill up, and it'll go up and down a little bit until it gets really full. So even though it says we're full, we aren't. We have to fill the reservoir as well, and that's just a visual gauge on this to see how it works. So here we are. We are just about full, I think. It's not moving anymore. I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. And that's how you fill up your Porter. So remember, even though it says it's at 500, we learned that it is not full until the reservoir is completely full as well. So you get a little more distance on it, and this will stay at 500 quite a bit longer. Still got our steam pressure. I'm going to check our fuel level. It says our fuel's at maybe about half. And here, if you open this up, you can see that the fire is nice and bright. If it was not bright enough, then you would probably want to add more fuel. On the top left, it says I'm at 50%. So I'm going to throw on maybe 2 or 3 more sticks. And that puts us at 91%. So we're good there for a while. That'll last us a little bit. And again, this engine is not meant for long distance. So let's go ahead and drive this thing. Now on a level track, it'll slow down, but I will just keep going as long as it's a level track. All right, and here's your introduction to the Bobber Caboose. So the Bobber Caboose, according to the ageofsteamroundhouse.org, I will put the link in the description. That is got its nickname because it looked like a bobber floating around off of a fishing line. So at the end of your train, you'd see that the bobber kind of hanging on the end and just bouncing around a little bit. So it's pretty much the same in this game. If you're riding this thing, it's not the most comfortable ride. However, you can get quite a bit of stuff done in here. Now, some of the questions in here. Let me go back. I'll explain the basic stuff. You get your link and pin There's your pin right there. Your link, the link for left click, pin for right, and you put those in that order to operate. You've got a handbrake here. You've got a handbrake on the other side, and a handbrake in the middle here, so you can get up in this window seat and get a nice view over top of your train to see where you're going. If you noticed, I had a bunch of caboose over there. It is not caboosin or caboose, like you would say, like goose geese. The proper way to say it is cabooses, according to some of my sources. One of them was Union Pacific, called it cabooses in one of their official documents. So that's where I'm getting my information from. Now, the windows don't open on here. However, you can open the doors. Walk right through them at the moment. We can also get a fire started here. So we're going to get a little wood to open up, get a little smokestack going, take a piece of wood, and Insta-Light wood that it comes with. It's perfect. So from here, you have 4 positions for lights. These little guys here will allow you to attach your lights just by clicking. If you click it twice, you get once is green, 2 is red, 3 is white, and so on and so on. Then you see the smoke coming out my stack here. Same thing on these positions here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the lights I learned a little bit about recently, and if you are on main rail, and this is the back of your train, you're going to want red lights. So as your train is traveling away from you, you want your red lights here. Now, if you pull into a siding and you flip your switch, you come over here, you flip your switch off the siding, and you pulled over and you're waiting for a train to pass, you will flip these to green. So as you're going down, green light means that they are allowed to pass by you and keep going. That's sort of what that stands for. Same thing, you also have a light in the center here. You would also change that to green, saying that the track is free and clear for you to pass by. Red obviously means that you are traveling. That's the end of your train. Don't, better slow down. And white, of course, means that I'm assuming, I've not seen this officially, but I would say if we were going in reverse, you would want your white lights to lead the way. So if this train is backing up, you would put these as white, so that way somebody knows that you are coming at them in the dark. Now, during the daytime, you don't need the lights, and it's always daytime here, and so there's no question on what those are for. But, if you want to get good practice, or if there is a day and night cycle, and that's about it. Simple as the Caboose gets. All right, in the event you have a derailment, such as this, what you want to do is go under here, press the G button at the moment, press re-rail, and you'll be able to grab your car. You'll look in the top left, it'll tell you when you connect it. It should say, in this case, the bobber caboose. Can't quite grab it on this angle. So let's see if I can find the part. There you go. I hit the hitch and it connected up. So now what I'll do is I'll look down at the track and I can walk over and you see that it recorrects itself. So there's a couple things. You'll notice that the smokestack here is towards the left. If I want it to the right, I'm going to hold down my left click, walk forward a bit till it snaps again, and then you'll see that it's now rotated around. So that's how you rotate the engine. Left click and hold to rotate it, and we're back again. Now, if I just let go of the click and walk, you'll see that it switches back to normal. So it's either one way or the other. Hold left click, walk to a new snap, it moves. Don't left click, and then it's already there. Again, then when you're done, you're just gonna hit right click and drop it onto the tracks. Most of the time it'll resettle like you saw there, and we're good. Now, if your brake is off, in this case it may have a chance of rolling. So it may just start rolling on you. So you probably want to hit your brakes. That way, when you're backing up your train, it won't bounce as much. So we're going to put our Lincoln pin in towards the front of our car. I want this to be the front. We'll back our consist up. The consist is the collection of trains that you got to go out. Collection of train cars, I should say. And here we go. It looks like our caboose is going to meet us in the middle. We're going to hit our brakes. Get up the pin, and we are tight. Even though it doesn't look like it, you can see that it's holding its position. Let's check all of our brakes. In this case, I've got multiple cabooses, caboose, cabisi, however you want to say it. And we're going to back up another one and check our brakes here. We've got our Lincoln pin, and we do not have one on this side, so we're good. Reverse it a little bit more. Percent, full rig, brakes off. Pressure. See what we're talking about. Compressing the train. All of our links are now pushed up next to each other. And that causes a bit of an issue. The train is actually shorter in this configuration. Go forward. It's easy start to about 20%. Brake off all the way, and we're going to go ahead and get a little bit of regulator this time because we've got more reverser set, so we can use less regulator, which then allows less steam into the cylinders, and we're moving forward. Stretch the train out. All of our links are now separated. We're not snapping them in half, and we can go into full reg now. All right, so here we are getting ready to start our test run. What I mean by this is I created a test track of the variety of different angles that we could try to drive on. In this case, this is the 18-degree curve. Eventually we'll wind around, we'll hit 30 degrees, 34 degrees, 38 degrees, 42, and so on. Then we're going to exit this center track at 48, end up in a curve of 50, and then do a wind around between the 60s. So let's see how well our short tracks are holding up. You notice I don't have any groundwork under here. It's sort of a work in progress, but let's go ahead and hit full throttle and see if we can derail this train. Full reverser, full throttle. Make sure we get enough fire in our hot water. We get plenty of water. Yeah, let's go for it. See if we can get this up on two wheels. All right, 18-degree turns, no problem. Full throttle. Rig. Coming up in our first intersection here. You gotta make sure these are nice and clear. The track's not exactly straight, but that's typical. No problems at all. Here we go, coming into 18 degrees. Oh, sorry. I don't believe that's 18. This should be 24. Or 28 degrees, maybe. That's 28. No problems there. Coming in full speed into 30 degrees. Let's see if we can handle it. See if we get any lift on our wheels. It bounced a little bit there, but not too bad. No uncoupling from the cars, we're good. Moving in at 32 degrees on this one, 32. See if we can do 34 this time. 34, no problem. Been into it. We haven't gotten wheel lift at all. We did break the engine though. We broke some cars off. So 34 was enough to break off a link in the chain. Interesting. Moving from 0 to 34 degrees was enough to snap an engine. Snap the back of the car off. But we still got one link on here, so let's see how we hold up. And 38. We might have a little problem here. The tracks are a little close. Coming in this next turn, we might bump them. I might have to reset some of this. We'll try it out. Hopefully I can squeeze by them. Look at this. They've broken off too. They didn't make it around. They've broken all their links. Okay, I don't know how we're squeezing by, but we are. Be fine the next time. So 34 and 38 are enough to break the links. This is 42. Still holding on to one car. Went into 40. 40 degrees, 40 degrees. You think we can make it to 66? That's 48. 48. Still holding on. Still holding on. We're going into 50. Car has not flown off the track. Oh no. No! We're gonna hit. Mowed right through them, and we crashed into 50. So let's go ahead and pull this up. Hit. Brakes off. Yep, we're good. 52 degrees. There we go. 52. I think we're bouncing around a little bit there. It's hard to tell with the blur. 54. Six. Oh, it's still holding on. 58. Still holding on. 60 degrees. Okay, so that just took a 60-degree angle, no problem. 62. 64. Caboose is whipping around here. Can we make 66? We're doing 66 degrees. And at the end here, I've got a little hill on a 66-degree turn. Going up into the grass. Uphill at 66 degrees. We made it. We made it all the way through with one car. Excellent. So there you have it. That is the end of our episode for Porters and Caboose doing a 66-degree angle at full red. Greg, you can see that we broke off some of our R's in the end there, but that will end this for today's episode on Caboose.